Hello everybody. My name is Donald Miguel Thomas, aka Don Anonymous, aka 1989 was born, aka Donnie 16. And I'm here to talk about something quite simple, a subject that I'm very familiar with, and if you've seen my channel, you're more than likely familiar that I'm familiar with. That subject is religion. In this instance, I'll be talking about the subject of socially acceptable practices and the limitations of personal consent when it comes to another person's beliefs. In order to facilitate this conversation better, I'm going to set up a framework for us. It's called an example. You have a person who loves to sing about their religion in a place that you are both inhabitants of. Neither of you is the primary owner of the house. Both of you enjoy your music, and you have come to an agreement. The agreement is as follows. You cannot disturb each other's peace. This means that you have to keep your volume at such a level that it does not disturb the other person in another part of the house. For example, the music I have on right now is at such a volume that it would not cross into the other places of the house. One day, the person you're living with decides to start loudly citing biblical verses, blasting their particular form of music, in this case Christian music, and so on. Now, at every point up until now, this person has demonstrated that they are uncomfortable with the idea of you putting on your particular brand of music or doing whatever activities you do at such volumes that they cross over into their living space. When this person decides to put their music on at a loud volume, and then they decide to start preaching from the Bible, is that socially acceptable? Well, let me go off on a little discussion about this. I think that it is socially unacceptable. I don't think that it should be acceptable for this person to claim a freedom of religion and use that freedom to breach in upon the privacy of another person. Just like I wouldn't want you blasting, let's say, dubstep in the house all day. I wouldn't expect a Christian to keep their music at such loud volumes that they disturb or are heard throughout other parts of the house. Loudly, in other words. Yet, this sort of thing seems to happen with zealots all the time. And I have to tell you, there's no real justification for it. Now, my argument is more of how to deal with this sort of behavior, and to me it's more than obvious that the best way to go about doing it is to confront this person about what they are talking about. I, for example, am familiar with the book of Matthew, which is something that is shouted quite often in this household. And I believe that it's perfectly fine to go out there and confront the person about their beliefs and, if possible, debunk it. In some cases, the Book of Matthew has inaccuracies that reflect the weakness of the position of shouting it out as though it were true. Therefore, when someone claims that their religion gives them the right to supersede general courtesy, to supersede the necessary boundaries of social interaction by infringing upon the privacy or the peace of another person, that speaks very badly about one's religion. Because if one seeks to represent one's religion, one does so very badly when one disturbs the peace of another person, at least in my view. Now, I may not be alone in that view, and I'm certainly sure that I'm not alone in thinking that everyone who has a living space is entitled to a modicum of privacy. Now, whether or not these laws prevent people from actually causing disturbances, harm or otherwise, remains to be seen. And that does not attest for the idea that it's morally right. If I, for example, blast dubstep into your room, or make my dubstep music loud enough so that not only can I hear it, but everyone else can, that is a bad on me. It's unethical, it's kind of wrong, and it's rather disturbing. When a Christian or a religious person does it, I am merely proposing that it's no different. Human beings as we are entitled to our personal beliefs and our personal rituals, but that does not cross over into including other people into those rituals. I don't think that as a human being, my ears should be used by your noise, so to speak. If I'm playing something, a movie, some music or something, you have the right to tell me, and in fact, in some cases, you rightfully have the right to ensure that which I'm playing, that if it disturbs you, that I shouldn't be allowed to play it, in the context of causing you a modicum of disturbance. Aside from that, with all of the claims that religions make in particular, the truth value of the claim is something that also needs to be brought into assessment. I don't believe that human beings as we are, well, never mind, not the human being argument. I simply don't think that if we're making claims that they should be evaluated on anything but a truth value. Jokes, some of the best jokes are jokes because they're based on certain stereotypical or other sorts of truths. Now, if you want to make good communication, good humor, and be ethically sound, your claims need to be closer to the truth. And as a result, when a Christian or any other member of any other religion starts spouting out their view on the origin of life, despite us already having disproven a great number of them, that those claims should be evaluated as false claims, and people should be allowed to respond to them. I, for example, if someone were to come up to me and tell me just out of nowhere Adam and Eve were made by God, I would have to say, well, who is Adam and Eve? Why do you think they were made by God? And if you're talking about the biblical account, you should know that our ancestors go further back than the first human beings, and to be honest, God did not make them either. So, if what I'm saying is that if a religion has the right to call out and advertise its beliefs, then those who do not believe in that religion or those who believe in a different religion should be allowed to confront those beliefs verbally and have a modicum of discussion. Now, that's not to say that it should be a shouting contest or it should be a matter of who can rifle off the most words the quickest. What it should be based on is factuality, evidentiality, demonstrability. Basically the idea of, do your claims hold up in reality? If you say that pouring water from a jug will cause the water to flow out into a cup, that's one thing. But if you say that that water can be turned into wine miraculously, that's a completely other thing. And if you cannot address that claim factually, then I'm afraid that there is no reason to believe the claim. And this is the reason why the religious right to be oppressed and be offended all the time and seek out retribution for that offense is somewhat of a falsehood, in my opinion. If these religious individuals want to shout and scream, holler, sing their falsehoods to the world and misinform the populace of our world, then we should have a right to call them out on it, so to speak. It's not an obligation of anyone to tolerate misinformation, because tolerance in that sense is condescending. You can have respect for something without having to tolerate it. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of things that you can find within the Bible are quite intolerable, such as the stoning of women as virgins if they are not virgins before they become married, such as the fear of an overbearing, omnipotent power figure that never makes itself present in any other way than a literary and imaginative, faith-based form. And because of this, when you tell people who have a necessity to learn about the world and that soak up information as much as possible, when you give them the wrong information, that affects lives, that affects how people try to heal their sick, that affects how people try to care for their wounded, that affects how people try to drive their society. And to be perfectly honest, the figure of Jesus is not a perfect or even close to godly figure. In many instances, the miracles purported in the Bible are quite exaggerated compared to the greater tragedy that occurs when Jesus himself comes back to obliterate the world, it seems. And while many people may say, well, only sinners were left for that thing to occur, I'd have to disagree, because even Abraham himself killed innocent newborn children when he sent his soldiers out against the Israelites to murder and slaughter everyone except for the women, and to keep the women for themselves so that they could do with them as they wished, in the words of the Bible itself. Now, before this video gets around too long, I would like to say that religion has contributed a lot of great mythology, fiction, poetry, song, art, and so on, because of the great devotion that comes in constructing that sort of mythological architecture. The problem with this is not that the architecture and everything like that isn't wonderful, because it is, but the problem with the belief itself is that despite this motivation, the outcome is not verifiably true. It's a promise made after nobody is aware to... It's a promise made after nobody is capable of responding. It's very easy to speak for the dead. Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's a promise made to and from the dead. If you accept Christianity, your rewards do not come until after you die. How very convenient that is. And it's very convenient to make a promise for something that you may experience after you've already perished. But an idea such as Christianity cannot claim moral rightness in the real world if those doctrines don't hold up, and they don't. A lot of prophecies, such as the coming of Christ in 60 CE, remain unverified except for a handful of individuals who wrote about them, and they only wrote about them in a disjointed fashion. They never confirm each other completely. In a lot of cases, they merely copy from each other without actually verifying these events. And to be perfectly honest, that's not a way of verifying the truth. So, as I've said before, since the Bible and the general concept of monotheism is such a sour and unsavory, all-in-all horrible idea, but from the perspective of someone like me who wishes to learn the truth about the universe and perhaps other universes, you do not, I do not believe, and nor should anyone else, that Christianity or any religion deserves a special privilege in the marketplace of ideas, in which arguments from authority, false dilemmas, and ad hominems can be viable replacements for intellectual arguments that have to do with evidence and real explanations. That being said, I hope that someday the Christian doctrine finds some way of relying on this evidential demonstrability, because on science's side we have a mountain, a plethora, a veritable universe worth of evidence that points to a simple yet a complex yet exceedingly unguided form of natural adaptation, and in the cases of cosmology or astrophysics, an enormous creation, perhaps not creation, but an enormous forming of universes, galaxies, stars, and so on, the likes of which no religion could ever come close to describing as accurately as the simple act of investigation has. This is Don Anonymous saying, 2 hands at work do more than 5 billion do in prayer, perhaps even more. You guys have yourself a good one.